Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Theta Talks. And I'm just going in to invite my partner in crime. Meanwhile, how has everybody been this week? Does anybody know our topic? Are you guys excited for this topic? Any questions that you already have for this particular topic? I'll invite tonight in. Hello, hello, hello. Hi,
Hi, Maisha. How are you today?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually in a staycation with my
Oh,
family.
nice.
So I'm in the business lounge of the hotel. So I know this is like a really weird background, but I'm here and that's what matters, right?
Yes, yes. That's our commitment, right, to everyone. We're making this happen every week.
Every
That's
week.
how much we love you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a super cool topic today, which I am really looking forward to chatting about. So, our topic today is the healing is real, right? R.E.A.L. Like we mean it, the healing is real. So, really talking about, what is a theta healing? What are the kinds of different experiences people have? What it feels like, what it looks like, and how do we as healers perceive a healing? How do we know when a healing has happened for our client? And what is our client experience in the healing process? So, we're going to talk all things, success stories and experiences from the point of view of healer and client. So, for everyone who has joined us, welcome to Theta Talks with Maisha and I. I'm Sanaya, and Maisha and I are both Theta Healing practitioners and instructors. I also am the country coordinator for the Philippines for Theta Healing. Both of us love Theta Healing. We use it with our clients, we use it in our own lives, and our weekly Tuesday night Theta Talks is really just conversations about Theta Healing, the kinds of things that we do with it and how we help our clients and ourselves with Theta Healing. So, once again, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions for us, please drop them in the chat and feel free to invite anyone. Who is interested in healing, in personal growth, and learning more about Theta Healing. They are all welcome to Theta Talks every week. Okay, Maisha, what do you have to say? Give us your little intro to today, and then we'll start
So,
talking about.
when we started Theta Talks, I was thinking, okay, how many topics can we discuss and talk about? And oops, and we are just, we're 4 seasons, I mean, 4 episodes down, and
Mhm.
we're still at the cusp of just, introducing it. So, this particular topic is something that a lot of my students actually ask me,
Mhm.
right? Is this real? Is this really true? Is it really happening? Right? How do I know it's real? Right? So initially, there's a lot of doubt and skepticism into whether the healing is real. And I think the reason behind it is that it is so quick and so fast, right? For things to shift and change that people do not realize that or can know that it is possible for things to change so quickly. I think that's one of the reasons that people second guess whether is it really true? Has it really happened? That's it. Do I have to do something about it after this? So I think that that's coming from that space. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring it up from this perspective, right? It's the question you're asking, Maisha, is um, how does a person accept that theta healing happens so quick, right?
Mm,
Because it happens so fast, it almost takes us a minute to digest, to absorb, to
yeah.
process what has actually happened. And that's true because theta healing happens quicker than the speed of light, right? It is a thought. energy. It is, we call it one of the lightest forms of energy in the world, the kind of healing energy we work with. It is the energy of creation itself, of pure unconditional love. That's what does the healing. And the kinds of healings we see can range from instant healings of diseases. I'm talking, somebody has cancer and then there's no cancer in their body,
Yeah.
or somebody has polycystic ovaries and they go back for the scan and their ovaries are perfectly normal, or someone has a fertility issue and can't get pregnant and then they get pregnant. And I'm talking, all these different kinds of situations have one thing in common is we've worked with it through theta healing, and we have seen diseases miraculously instantly disappear. We've seen things like, skin conditions and rashes
Yeah.
disappear.
Yeah.
We've seen,
Even emotional, a lot of
I was just
emotional,
going to say,
depression,
depression. People,
anxiety. That's a big
yes,
one.
yeah, like
Yeah.
people who've been on medication, heavy depression medication
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
decades, work with us and they get off their medication. We don't take them off their medication. We
Yeah.
always send them
Absolutely.
back to their doctor and ask the doctor to take the call whether they can get off their medication,
Whether they're ready.
whether they're
Absolutely.
ready. So theta healing, or the healings that we do with theta healing, can range from these really tremendous healing reverse, like disease reversals,
Or even
or
fears, I've worked with people with fear of dogs, fear of heights, fear of swimming, fear of,
death.
cockroaches. That's a fun one.
Right, absolutely. So, the kind, so yeah, healings can be emotional. They can be mental. So we're talking about depression, we're talking about bipolar, we're talking about multiple personality disorder. We've worked with all these things, schizophrenia, so
Neurodivergence as well. Yeah.
neurodivergencies in children, autism, ADHD, you name it. So that's the mental. We've worked with that, and then you've got the physical, right? So you've got actual physical diseases in the body that have healed through theta healing. So the question really is, how do we know the healing has happened? So let's start with that, Maisha. Like when you're working with your client as a theta healer, what do you experience that tells you, okay, I've worked with this client during this maybe 60 minutes, and now I know the healing has happened. It's complete. What's your experience with that?
Well, for me, I am, of course, I start off with creating that space. I'm very present with the client, right? And I allow that energy of creator to flow because I am like that open vessel to allow so that I could actually see the healings happen. So for me, when I witness, right, what we call witnessing in theta healing, when I witness the healing has happened, then I know it has happened. And witnessing for me can be a feeling, it can be a sound, it can be a word, it could be just seeing that physical. So in those instances, I realize, and
Looks like it's her.
hi, yes,
We
yes, I'm
lost you.
here. Oh,
We
that was
lost you for a
me.
second. Yeah,
Apologies.
I think
Yeah.
so. Okay, let me actually roll you back a little bit, okay?
Mm,
Because you use this word witnessing,
mm.
which if I were to put myself in the perspective of someone who has never heard of this idea of witnessing before,
Yeah,
right?
let's break it down. Yeah.
What do you mean by witnessing a healing? Why is that important? And how is it done?
So witnessing a healing, it can happen, as I mentioned, in many different ways. Okay. So what it is actually seeing or feeling or actualizing the healing through my perspective on things and what I see within the client space.
Okay, still sounds really complicated. Simplify it even more, Maisha, for our listener. What do you mean by that? Like what okay, so you take a client in, you work with
Yes.
them,
Mm.
you dig deep down to find out where's the issue coming from,
Yes.
right? So, so somebody comes in with let's say they have a physical condition.
Hmm.
All right. let's call it they have a fertility issue.
Mm.
So they come into a session with you, you're gonna start asking them lots of questions to find out, when did this start for them? You'll look at the history, and then you might, even start to explore their relationship with their mother, their mother's experience with childbirth. Maybe you're looking at some childhood identity,
Trauma,
self-esteem
yeah.
issues, some trauma, maybe with the body, maybe with the. So basically, you're trained to figure out, if it's a fertility issue, these are the kind of issues I expect to uncover, right? And you start asking questions so you can narrow down where the issue is probably coming from. And you
Correct.
use something called a scan, which we'll talk about next week. So
Next
I'm not going to get
episode.
into that, right? I'm not going to get into that. But basically, you use a combination of your training, your expertise in theta healing, and what you pick up from your client, what they're telling you, what they're sharing. And then, of course, the most important is the guidance that you're psychically getting,
Correct.
intuitively getting from
Yes.
the creator.
Correct.
So between these three things, you are able to figure out with your client by going on this journey in the session, what is the root cause of the fertility problem.
Correct. So,
And then you start going through the steps of the healing, whether that is resolving something, forgiving, releasing, shock, whatever it is, are
yeah.
the different steps of the healing. Now go ahead, tell us what
So I'm
happens.
holding space for them and I'm inviting the energy of unconditional love or creator into this space so that when I already know what needs to be cleared, I will be connecting with this energy of creator and asking creator to do a healing on the client. And at that point, when I make that request, I'm just kind of waiting there and kind of chilling and seeing what is going to happen and what creator or the energy shows me during
Okay.
the process.
So I'm going to just interject for a minute because last week we talked about who does the healing.
Right.
So if you're coming in, by the way, to this live and you're like, who is this creator and why are we waiting for creator to do the healing? You need to watch last week's
Episode
IG
3.
live, yeah, episode 3, where we talked about who does the healing. So we've already established that this source energy, the universe, you could call it God, the creator, however you want to see it, some energy, one energy greater than us, where we have all come from, the most powerful energy of all, right? The energy of love and intelligence does the healing. You, as a healer, is just witnessing. Now, why do we need a witness?
So we need to bring it in what I call into reality, right? If I didn't see it happen, did it really happen? That's the
It's like,
idea
how do
behind
we
it.
know it happened if there was no one there to witness it? So there's like this
Correct.
whole, physics.
Apple from the tree,
No,
yeah.
it's actually it's like a physics. I feel like it's a story. It's
Newton,
something.
right? If
No,
the
no, no,
apple.
no. I'm not talking about the Apple one, Maisha. There's this question about, if the tree falls in a silent forest, right?
Mm,
No, if a
okay.
tree falls down in the forest and there's no one there to
Just
hear it or see it, how
did
do
it
we
really fall?
know? Yeah, did it really fall? How do we know the
Mm,
tree fell down if there was no one there to see it or to hear it,
right.
right? So for all we know, the tree never fell
Yeah.
down because we have no proof of it. We have no evidence of it. We have no experience of it. And I know I'm totally botching up that story, you guys,
So
but
I
the
heard the apple
point,
one. If the apple fell off the tree or
that
not.
must be some like variation of it, but I know like
Yeah.
the real actual one is the tree in
Original
the
one.
forest, right?
Okay.
So basically it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
If the healer, in this case Maisha, is not there to witness a healing happening on the client, it doesn't really come into reality, it doesn't come into existence. So her role, besides guiding, the client to get the understanding and facilitating the entire facilitating sounds also very complicated, but guiding and directing the healing with the guidance, real guidance of the creator, your job is to make sure that this healing happens by being present to it or being a witness to it, right? Now, you may see, as you said, you may see something, you may feel something, you may know it's happened, but whatever it is, you have some kind of evidence, some kind of experience of the healing happening. So you know as a healer, right, that it's happened. But
Yes.
what if the like what does the client now experience? Like how do they know the healing happened, or what do they say to you to validate that something has changed? And by the way, we have
Rach,
I think it's, yeah,
Rachna.
Raj says, I think it is, if the tree falls down and if you're not there, does it still make a
Yeah.
sound? Exactly, that was the question I meant to bring into our conversation today, but thank you for that. All right, so what does the client experience, Maisha? Can you talk to us about that?
So during this whole process of the healing itself, the client feels actually very light, and very relaxed, almost near to sleep-like state. They're very relaxed during the process. And when I'm witnessing, right, or visualizing or feeling the healing happen,
Hmm.
so the client can actually feel it. Some of them feel that something's releasing from their body. They feel a lightness, or they feel certain areas, because I will, not tell them where it's coming from. And when I witness it, and then later on, they're like, oh, I felt something in my tummy. And that's exactly the spot in which I witnessed it or saw it release from the body. So the client can actually feel it because my cells are talking to their cells, and they can kind of feel that release happen as I witness it
Yeah.
happen.
So between your what you said and between my own experiences, what I wanted to share is that the client, the person receiving the healing, right, can report back to us that some major breakthrough or realization, might have come up for them in
Aha
that
moments,
aha
lots of them.
moment. Yeah, that can happen while we're actually uncovering the root. It can happen when we do the healing process. And in many cases, we actually bring the client, the person we're working on, to connect with the energy of creation itself. And they get some major insight or understanding of what has been going on in their life and how they've contributed, right? So there's a lot of understanding that many people walk away with. So that's one thing that happens. The second thing is emotionally, they
Hmm.
immediately feel better. So I have this experience, I'm sure you do, right? As well, Maisha, where they cut, like the person I'm working with comes in just feeling really heavy and stressed and just burdened by whatever, they are challenged by in their life. And this is something I hear over and over again. Like, I just feel lighter. Like I
Yeah.
can, my shoulders feel better. I feel like I can breathe. And I just feel like, oh, there's hope. There's possibility. Like suddenly things have opened up in their life and now they don't feel as stuck. So that's another kind of
Comment
feedback that I
and
normally get.
feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that might happen is the pain. So
Will
they might come in with,
subside. Yeah.
yeah, the pain will disappear,
Mm.
or it's a lot less where they almost can't feel it. But more often than not, I will hear that, oh, the heaviness is gone, the pain is gone, the discomfort's gone. Oh, and then suddenly, like if they come in with some kind of skin issue or something visible, we actually see that there's been some massive improvement in it, even within the session. I've seen that happen quite a bit. But the most beautiful kind of healing that I have to share is when you've done the healing with the client in the session, and they're just kind of like, okay, I don't really know what happened, right? But they obviously just take my word for it that the healing has happened because they have no other proof at that point. And they walk away from the session. And I usually tell them, give it a week, give it a week. And over the course of the week, just observe, observe your thoughts, observe how you feel, your behaviors. Just see how, don't almost always within the week, they have some kind of major turnaround in their life. There's some kind of huge change. And by the time they come back for the next session, that's the change they tell me about. And sometimes it really does take them a week for their entire, body system, um, their mind to recognize what has changed because they see it in their thoughts. Their thoughts are different, their behaviors are different, the anxiety has disappeared or gone down. They're no longer as fearful of the same situation happening. It's like somewhere on the inside things have changed, and they've changed dramatically enough that they almost feel like they're a different person now. And I
It
always
goes
get,
back.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
go ahead, go ahead.
I always get this whole thing like they're just completely blown away. Like,
Mhm.
how did 60 minutes do all of this for me? And I want to share one story in particular, Maish, before I, come back to you on this question. Is I had this one client. He is someone who's been doing therapy for a very
Mm.
long time, and he's very, very committed to his therapy. He's worked with many different therapists and types of um, counseling and so on. And he came to me because one of his coaches said, "You have to go and work with Sanaya. I know she can really help you, and you just have to go." And he was like, "What, what is this thing, Theta Healing, you're sending me for?" And this coach he works with was like, "Just go, just go." And so he comes into a session with me, and he tells me right off, "I don't really believe in this stuff. I don't even know what this is." And he's very skeptical. Okay. And the way obviously I'm leading and doing the session and asking the questions, it's a little bit strange. It's a little bit different from what he's used to.
Right.
So we go ahead and do the entire session. And, it's been almost 60 minutes at that point. And I'm like, okay, we're done for today. We've done well and so on. And I'm like, how do you feel? And he's like, I don't really know. I guess the same. I don't know. Am I supposed to feel something? Like there was a lot of doubt for him. He wasn't sure. And he said to me, like, I don't even know if this works. I don't know what happened. And I'm telling you right now, like, I'm just really skeptical about everything. And I said, okay, don't worry about it. Just observe over the week. And we ended the session. The next day, he sends me an email and he's like, I don't know what this is, but an hour after our session, I immediately started to feel like so much better than I've ever felt before. He's like, I felt like so much lighter. I felt like a weight had been lifted. It took him an hour after the session for him to
To
kind of
sink
process.
in, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, he continued to give me feedback and then came back in for another session. And he's like, he couldn't believe how different he felt from just one
Right.
session with me because he's like, I've been doing decades of therapy. And it doesn't work this way, the way, what happened between the two of us and the work we've done. And I've heard that even from other therapists who have been students or clients that, theta healing doesn't work like regular therapy because regular therapy can take months and months and months of regular sessions to see major turnarounds, major shifts. But theta healing, I've seen it happen in as quick as 1 60-minute session. And we do often work with people for 3 sessions, 6 sessions, and sometimes even for longer commitments where I do work with clients sometimes every second week, every third week with the same client. Actually, I have a lot of people now I work with quite frequently, but that's because we're not working on one thing. We're working on so many different things in
Different
their life. And
layers, yeah.
differently, like they work on manifestation, they're working with financial, they're working with love, and they just want to like keep peeling off the layers of just, baggage and past negative experiences and negative beliefs and limits. And, they keep working with me because they just want to climb higher and higher and higher and higher. And so, I really wanted to share that story because it really speaks to how powerful the healing is and how, for different people, they may experience it differently. For someone it takes an hour, for someone it takes a week to really process and understand, and for some people it's instant. And that also depends on how ready someone is
Yeah,
to accept
absolutely.
or see all of it. Like if you don't
Hmm.
believe that your illness, let's say it's cancer, can heal instantly, then it's not going to heal instantly for you. But I've seen the people who have just so much faith, whether it's in God or in this possibility of remission or miraculous instant healings. Like for those people, I see healings can be instant. But I also see instant healings for people who may not even, you believe in it. They didn't know what to expect. They just kind of went in. So it's really interesting because there's no like right or wrong way, and there's no set way of experiencing it. It happens slightly differently for everyone, but it's usually pretty life changing.
It is incredible. So I had a question earlier. How do we book a session? So I'd love to introduce the emotional breakthrough sessions that we do as well, which is you can find us on bit.ly/emotional hyphen breakthrough. And
Actually,
what it
Maisha,
is,
we have a new link. So we actually have an easier link. It's if you want to book a session, you just go to bit.ly, that's bit.ly/ E dash B dash S, and that
oh,
stands for
awesome.
emotional breakthrough session. So E dash B dash S. All right. And then I'm going to comment in the chat actually right now so you can see it right away.
Perfect.
I
So what it
should be able.
is like what we spoke about with theta healing. It gives you a little bit of a taster of what we do during a session. We come in with understanding where you're at and where you want to get to, and kind of filling in that gap and making that process and transition there easier and quicker. Okay, so with any issue, anything that you want to explore and work on, we can give you that clarity on where you might be stuck. So that's a great segue or an intro for you to try it out
Yeah. And I think,
so that
Maisha,
you can
you're
experience it.
usually, you're also doing some downloads and you might like shift a few things in that 20
Yeah,
minutes,
so
right? Like,
it's like really that theta healing session, that mini version that you get to experience it too.
yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for dropping and reminding me of that link, Maisha. All right, so we talked about what a client experiences. We talked about what you experience when you witness. We talked about what else? How it might be different
What
for different
what it
people.
is, yeah, what is witnessing?
What is witnessing? The whole role of the healer and what they're meant to do. But one thing, I do want to highlight is we don't decide, right? As a theta healer, neither does Maisha, neither do I, nor any other healer. We cannot decide what, or we can't decide how fast a healing happens, nor can we decide or dictate how the healing will happen and in which way. What we do is we put our trust in the creator to direct the healing as is best for the person we're working
Yeah,
with.
so we're very out of that judgment space. We are just really kind of seeing it happen the way it's meant to happen between creator or God and the
Yeah.
client.
And our role is just to be the medium or the channel or the facilitator of that healing, which is actually happening between the creator and the person we're working on, our client. And that's really the role of a theta healer. All right. Now, any other questions, you guys? I know there's a couple of questions in the chat. We are getting to the end of the session. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Meanwhile, Maisha, should we get our virtue cards ready while I
Yes,
tell everyone about what we're talking about next week, right?
absolutely.
So next week, we're going to talk about scanning. So as a theta healer, we do this really cool thing where most of us as theta healers, the first thing we do with our clients in a session is we scan you. So when we scan you, we are basically intuitively finding out what's going on with you, like what the issue is, what the challenge is, where it's coming from. And we don't always tell the client what we see. And you are going to learn all about why that is in our session next Tuesday. Theta Talks next Tuesday. That's 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8. That's the Singapore, Perth, China, Manila, Philippines time zone. And, we do it every week at that time. All right, Maisha, what's our virtue card for this week?
Can you read backwards? No. Okay. So
No.
the virtue card is gratitude.
Ooh, okay,
Mm.
gratitude. All right. You want to speak to it first or me?
Well, I love this virtue, and I think it's a very, very powerful virtue because when you're grateful for everything, then there's more of it to come, right? If you get a present and you're so happy about it and so excited about it, the person will want to buy you more. So I feel that gratitude is and should be in every area of our life. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for Theta Healing and Vienna and the modality and grateful for everybody that's tuning in and very keen and interested in trying to change their lives too.
So I love that, Maisha. I love everything you said about gratitude. You're right. It is one of the most powerful vibrations, frequencies, energies in the world. Gratitude actually puts you in a state of manifestation. Gratitude puts you in a state of attraction. And it also puts you in a state of abundance and flow. So as long as you keep showing up in your life and being grateful for everything, for all the blessings you have, and sometimes also being grateful for all the things that aren't working out or aren't in your life because they're teaching you some pretty powerful lessons. So having gratitude for that too is so important. But more importantly, what comes to me about gratitude is that theta healing is really a modality of gratitude. And I'm saying that because almost every theta healer I know became a theta healer because of the profound changes in their own life due to theta healing, right? Like, I never thought I'm going to become a healer. I was in fashion, I was a buyer, I was in marketing, right? I would have never thought that I'm going to quit my corporate career, of which I had these really lofty aspirations. Like, who would have thought I would have quit all of that to become a healer, a coach, speaker, all of these things that I am now. And it all happened because I saw how much my life transformed, transformed. I don't like to use the word transformation or transformed so often because I find like it's been overused, transformation, transformation. But I can't think of a more apt word to describe my life and who I am today compared to who I was before. It's a complete 180-degree transformation. Is it 180 or 360? How do I say that? Because if it's 360, I'm back to where I am, right? So it's a 180. It's a 180-degree transformation where I am completely different from who I was. I'm still me, but in terms of how I lead my life and how I behave and how I respond and how I react and
Version 2.0,
versions,
or we go up that
yeah,
8.0 at this point.
completely, right? And it's like it was because of that, right? When I saw my relationships change, I manifested my partner, abundance flow, like what I was doing with my clients, there was just so much gratitude, right? And that's what made me want to do theta healing full time, right? It's just like I'm so
Giving
grateful,
back. Yeah.
yeah, that we have this. And I know you feel that way too, Maisha, because we talk about it all the time. It's like we're so lucky that
We
we
get
get
to
to
do
do
this
this
every day.
every
Yeah.
day, right? It's like really like a blessing. And I know that so many theta healers out there that we've taught, we've been teaching theta healing for 15 or more years. And we do it because we see how the students are taking theta healing and then changing their lives and changing other people's lives. And, it makes you want to do so much more of it. And so many of our students became theta healers because they were just completely just so grateful and thankful for how much their life had
And and
evolved
it all
and their
started with the same,
blessings.
right? A lot of our students came in with, I want to just heal myself and work on myself.
Yeah.
And then, it kind of snowballed in terms of how we experienced it.
Yeah. So gratitude that we have this technique of theta healing to work on ourselves, to work on the people we love, and to work on our clients, our students. So gratitude, right? So
What
thank
a
you, everyone.
perfect virtue.
Right? Perfect virtue for today's conversation. Thank you, everyone, for joining Maisha and I today. We are so happy that you are here and that we get to tell you a little bit about theta healing and how much it matters to us and why it might be something that you might want to explore.
I I think there's a question that we may want to make sure we answer. What can you say about the energy of shame? And is it something that can be healed in a session? There's a pattern that keeps coming up for me, and I really need some healing and help in this area.
Yeah. You want to, you want me to take this one, Nish, or you want to go?
Theta healing can definitely work with all um, emotions and feelings, especially when we work with shame, it's probably attached to an experience. And when you experience something and felt that feeling of shame, that's where it's stuck in your body, in your cells, in your subconscious mind, which is why you keep bringing that into your space. So, as a healer, what we will do is work with that experience so that we can neutralize it, we can get some wisdom behind it, and we can close it off so that you don't have to keep repeating those patterns again and again and again
Yeah.
and reliving that.
So I've worked with shame quite a bit on myself, and also with other clients. And what's interesting about shame is it's very deep. It's not something that comes up right away with clients. And even for myself, I didn't really encounter shame in my 10, 15 years. It wasn't something I saw very frequently in my own healing work with myself, I'm talking about. But a couple of months ago, shame came up for me. And I realized it was something that was really hiding deep down. And a lot of times, shame comes from our ancestors. So we're
Mm.
carrying this deep shame in our genetic line for some reason. Maybe our ancestors did something they weren't proud of, and we're still carrying it in our cells, in our DNA. And then that, coupled with our own shame from our own experiences in this lifetime, can make it like it's a huge burden to carry. So shame, just like any other emotion, as you said, Maish, can be dealt with. And we go back to where it started, whether that's somewhere in the genetic line, it's your own experiences. And absolutely, we teach you through the healing process how to be proud of yourself, to honor yourself, and to love yourself through forgiveness, through compassion, through kindness, and to be able to completely release that shame. And I've done it, so I can speak to it. That shame, when it leaves you, okay, when it leaves you, it just makes you feel like you can finally accept yourself completely. Okay, because shame is a huge block, doesn't allow you to do that. All right, so absolutely. Okay, go ahead, Maish. You can close off the session now.
Thank you guys. We will see you again next week, next Tuesday, with another great episode. And this time it's on scanning, right? So look forward to seeing you all. Thank you all for joining us. We are again very grateful for all of you. So see you next week.
Bye.